Next up, we have Dr. Michael Roizen, renowned physician, Emeritus Chief Wellness Officer of Cleveland Clinic, a best-selling author and rock star in the world of longevity medicine. He's here to talk to us about wellness and weight, the skinny on brown fat and eliminating obesity. Fasten your seatbelts for Mike Roizen.
Thank you, Nancy.
If you're going to sit in that chair, let's move you over closer to Beth. I got moved when, there you go, perfect.
I like being close.
Better for news.
I should say that Nancy made me eliminate all my slides, and so I don't talk with. I don't talk without slides, so I have no idea what I'm going to say, other than the trend I'm going to talk about is longevity. The sub-trend is eliminating obesity by a white fat to brown fat transformation. In 1993, we said 60 could be the new 40. It's come to pass. We now believe that 90 will be the new 40, but it won't be old. That changes everything. You've heard, if you read the papers in the last 2 weeks, China has a decreased population. Why are they worried about that? Because GDP equals population times productivity, and with a population decrease, they think their GDP and their prominence will go down. In France, you've seen fights over extending 2 years for the retirement age from 62 to 64. Prominent physician Zeke Emanuel went on Smerconish to say we all should stop preventive care at age 75. No flu shots, no pacemakers, no other no colonoscopy, et cetera, and we should abandon medicine and just die. In the USA, at least one, in the USA and in at least one Canadian province, we're now debating entitlement programs for the elderly because they're afraid there won't be enough young workers to support them. And a major rating agency has said that they will be downgrading 50 countries for that reason, their credit worthiness. But in fact, longevity will be a good thing for the economy. Why? Because you're going to be younger. So, Jonathan, you're going to be able to reboot people back to 40 when they're 90. So this requires a strong emotional change. That is, there are 14 areas of research into aging mechanisms that have now changed aging in at least 2 animal species and rebooted them the equivalent of human 90 back to human 40. And all of these are moving into human trials. One of these relates to, in fact, white fat to brown fat transformation. And cold does that in a social environment. Why is this good for the economy? Because if you're going to live 30 years longer, you're not going to retire for 50 years and do nothing. You want passy, you want purpose, and you want play, and all those come with work, as we've heard earlier today. So just imagine you extending your useful life, your productive life, by 50%. Instead of 20 to 60, it's 20 to 80. And that's what will happen. And the world won't be short of workers. We won't be short of supporting people if we do the policies right. Is this just for the rich? No, I'm going to give you another example before we get to white to brown fat transformation so that Nancy can't pull me off early. The inexpensive at the Gladstone in San Francisco, they looked at the quaternary structure of all drugs already approved by the FDA and that were generic, 1,360 some. And they looked at Alzheimer's disease and amyloid and tau attachment to neurons. And they found in this theoretic quaternary quantum computing that one drug did it very effectively. They then looked at a mouse model of Alzheimer's, and it blocked it in that mouse model of genetic Alzheimer's. They then looked at two large databases, one from San Francisco, 1.4 million people, one from Cleveland Clinic, 3.8 million people. And what they find? That those people taking this $4 a month generic water pill had a 70 and 72% reduction in dementia compared to those taking other water pills. So is this just for the expensive people? No. We think that these aging changes and longevity will be inexpensive. How about white to brown fat and getting rid of obesity? You say, how can we get rid of obesity? We've had thermoregulation, which has stopped us getting the cold, and the normal white to brown fat transformation. You're born with brown fat. It's what keeps you warm when you're a child and your mom can't swaddle you. But as we get older, we get white fat, which is relatively inactive and causes inflammation, and is the leading cause of osteoarthritis, the leading cause of dementia, the leading cause of 6 cancers, as well as heart disease and stroke. And yes, breast and colon cancers are 2 of those 6. So what if we could eliminate obesity? Well, you've heard of the GLP-1, Ozempic, and Mounjaro. They may have some role, but they're very expensive. What's cheaper? Going in a pool, if you will, that's cold with about a bunch of your friends, or walking to the hot tub in cold weather. All you need is 11 minutes a week to get the white fat to brown fat transformation. And yes, sometimes the fasting does it, but the most promising way is a one shot in animals that takes your white fat, regresses it to pluripotent fat, mother fat, if you will, and then another shot that transforms it to brown fat, and you eliminate obesity in the masses. That's where 3 animal species have been. And you'd say, why are sheep the large one? Because they can't stop eating either. And they develop non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, just like we do, but they stop producing, if you will, wool. I don't know where I am in my outline here, but in fact, the key takeaways, longevity is coming with at least an 80% probability with a 30-year jump, and with a 10-year jump with about 100% probability. You're going to live longer, as every generation since 1850 has, than you expect. And yes, you get skin rejuvenation with this as well. Who knows why white fat to brown fat regenerates the skin, but it does. So longevity is the next great disruptor, and one of those things, we didn't imagine that polio would be eliminated in 1940s, or that smallpox would be eliminated before that, or HPV can be treated with a vaccine, as can breast cancer, but now we know those are coming true, and so will the elimination of obesity.
Oh. Anyway, I encourage you to read the trend. I mean, the understanding what the difference between brown and white fat is, it's metabolic, supercharged brown fat. But, he outlines the medical ways to make this transformation, and also you start hinting at the wellness ways, the cold, the cold experiences and fasting. So is there any other evidence-based, take the white fat to the brown fat? And it's interesting about temperature. I'm hearing so much about temperature and its impact on things like this. But anything in that the wellness world should know that is part of this interventions that would do this? Because the other stuff is pretty medical.
Yeah, so there are 123 chemicals, mainly drugs, that have been used to do this, most of which have not panned out in humans as they have in mice. But there are a couple that have small amounts of white to brown fat transformation. How did we do this in the past? It was before we had home heating, that you'd be out, and that would normally transform us. Fasting, that 5-day Volta Longo calorie restriction, 750 calories a day for 5 days, does it very effectively as well. But if you will, and so exercise, HIIT exercise, high intensity does it to a little bit, but in fact, the thing we think does it most reproducibly is 11 minutes of exposure
Wow.
to cold water.
It's
Or
why,
if you live in Cleveland, it's 11 minutes without your clothes on in any month from December, January, February, or March.
Well, you know, I mean, ice baths run throughout all these trends in this crazy way, but sometimes people, people make fun of things, and I always think there's a reason behind this instinct. But anyway, that's interesting, because it is a medical wellness solution to get this transformation. So, thank you, Dr. Roizen.